Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is the Town of Hilton Head Island Gullah Geechee Land and Cultural Preservation Task Force meeting, December the 6th, 2021. I'd like to officially go ahead and call this meeting to order and welcome my task force members and those of the public who are attending. And I do see that we have Councilwoman Tamara Becker and Councilman Alex Brown joining us. Welcome and thank you for joining in. Teresa, are we in compliance with FOIA?
Yes, sir, we are.
Would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Mr. Abdul Malik,
I'm here.
Mr. Simmons,
I'm here.
Mr. Campbell,
Here.
Mr. Stevens.
I'm here.
Ms. Davis and Mr. Hens are excused, and we are expecting Ms. Green and Ms. White.
Okay. So we really can't do the approval of the agenda or the minutes at this point?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
I'm hopeful that Ms. White will join us. And yes, I did talk with Ms. Davis a little bit and she was not available as well. We'll go ahead and proceed for now to citizen comments. Teresa?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public comments concerning agenda items were submitted electronically via the town's open town hall portal. The comments were provided to the task force for review and made part of the official record. In addition to commenting on the portal, citizens were provided the opportunity to call into the meeting to give comments by phone. We have no callers at this time. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next item I have on the agenda is discussion items, education programs, and outreach.
Yes, I will be giving a presentation on that.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Good morning. I hope you all have had an enjoyable Thanksgiving holiday. So I would like to discuss the education programs that staff has been working on. It is important that people who work for the town and do elected officials understand the unique population that they're working with on Hilton Head. If you remember, there are two recommendations from the Gullah Geechee Preservation Project report that address the education for Native Islanders. CP7 is to develop an education program on Gullah history, culture, development standards, challenges, and land use policies for town officials, employees, board and commissioner members as well. The second recommendation is PP12, which is to host educational meetings and workshops on issues that impact Gullah residents such as heirs property, development standards, and other property development challenges. For educating new hires and board of commissioner members, staff has created a syllabus for your introductory lesson for the Gullah history and culture, which has been included in your agenda packet. Since being sent out, the syllabus has been edited in format and has been revised to accommodate staff changes. So the topics of the focus in this introductory lesson are the settlement of Gullah people, Gullah culture that encompasses the language, spiritual ties, arts and food, and how land is important to Gullah culture. The unique aspects of the 14 historic Gullah communities, the challenges to Native Island land retention and sustainability, and the last issue, last topic, proposed initiatives for Gullah preservation, which includes this committee, the Gullah Geechee Culture Project Report, and the efficacy of policy initiatives.
Sharice?
Yes,
I
sir.
don't mean to interrupt. Can you turn your volume up a little bit?
Okay, yes, sir. Sure. I'm sorry. Can you hear me better?
That's a little better.
Okay, I will try to project. How does that work?
Yes.
Okay, so it is proposed that the training will begin in the new year. And staff will be providing the training, but we're also asking the expertise of Dr. Campbell and Dr. Cohen, who will add color and insight to the presentation. Additionally, proposed presenters will be of varying generations, which was one of the comments received when I sent out the education programs to the committee. And these people would be well-informed and educated about Gullah history and culture. Also, staff will present additional educational opportunities, which are site visits to Mitchellville, the Gullah Museum, going on the Gullah Heritage Tour, and other training on public policies in historic neighborhoods, such as addressing policies and dirt road paving in historic neighborhoods. The community development staff has already had training on family compound and family subdivision, so that each of the divisions within the department know how to address these applications. The community engagement program is education for Gullah residents that would occur at least once a quarter. Also, please keep in mind that the syllabus is fluid, meaning that it can be adjusted at any time to accommodate new course topics and presenters. And we had our first community engagement programs at the end of September and mid-October on family compound and family subdivision. If you look at the second syllabus, other topics, staff plans to include art, history, and culture, the development plan review process, education for small businesses, paying property taxes, parks and recreation development plans such as improvements to the Mid-Island Track, Chaplain Community Park, and Crossings Park, and other broad range topics like our plan, workforce housing, the Gullah Geechee preservation projects, and sustainability practices. Other topics include the roads, the William Hilton Parkway corridor improvements, addressing and fire hydrants. More topics on community engagement programs will be added every week. And so currently staff is working with the Heritage Library and its citizens community to create a repairs property workshop that will occur in the new year. There will be 2 opportunities for the community to attend these workshops, which will coincide with the Gullah celebration. So they will be held on February 15th at Queen Chapel, AME, and the Coastal Discovery Museum on February 19th. And we're currently working to create an extensive communication plan to reach more citizens about these educational opportunities. And as we have more information, that will be provided to the task force. So you've been sent the syllabus for your review to see if there are other topics that should be added. And that's all I have for the education plan right now. Do you have any questions?
Okay, thank you. I guess we should probably go in order. And I would ask each of the task force members to have comment or questions if they do. And I'm just going to go from those of us that I see here. Mr. Malik.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I read over the syllabus and I thought it was really very thorough. I did have a couple of concerns. I think that there should be room in the history that includes every study that has been, conducted from the RUDAT to this most recent Walker Consultants Group, because I think that would provide the necessary input for where we are now. When you look at some of those initial studies that were done, some of the concerns that we are addressing now were mentioned in those initial studies. So I think it would be good for folks to have that information as a basis to understand what our objectives are now. That was one comment. And the other one was I think that in the cultural side of our education, that business and economics should be included along with art and, you know, the food and culture. Because we have to realize that it was through economics and business development that the community sustained itself, the neighborhoods sustained themselves historically. And we knew there was always an economy here, but maybe, you know, maybe it was, you know, in the beginning, maybe it was meat, one family trading services for goods to another family, but there was always an economic base. That economic base, in the beginning, though it may have been bartering, but that economic base was what was there to sustain our presence here. That economic base that went from trading evolved into businesses. And when you look at where Hilton Head was 40 years ago, in relationship to the neighborhoods, pretty much every neighborhood had some kind of independent or freestanding business development in their community. And I think that that's something that should constantly be reiterated, because we know that we had talked about economic sustainability. So I just wanted to throw some comments out about things that I think could be added to the training.
Thank you, Mr. Malik. Those are good points. And when this was presented before APA, those very topics that you mentioned were folded into other subject matters, other topics that were listed here. So what I can do is make a separate category that specifically names those suggestions that you have just done. Just
Oh,
separate
okay.
them out.
All right, that'll be good. Because Mrs. Dr. DuBose, you know, when I first came to Hilton Head in 1977, you know, I saw clearly business activity in our neighborhoods that is absent now.
Mhm.
So I think it's important for us to have that history highlighted, so that when we talk about economic sustainability, there is a historical link that we can look back to.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malik. On that note, I know we've had some discussions, and there's some pieces in the LMO that deal with home occupations. And those are things that we've had some questions and challenges with, and as you said, probably ought to be revisited and focused on. The other part of your comments were in relation to including reports and studies and things like that. We had talked one time about a resource center where we could all have access to that information. Dr. DuBose, I believe that Tom Hintz also had reached out to you about having the recommendations and things like that. So probably having those things available to us, especially for some of our newer members and those who are in the public, be well aware of what those are, and certainly where to find all those reports and studies. As Mr. Malik says, we can refer back to them just about every time we have these discussions. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to add that there is a resource page on the town's website that specifically focuses on the Gullah initiatives, and I'm happy to forward the task force that link to share with the rest of the community as to where to find all of the information, including places where you can get help for other issues that you're facing, such as heirs property. You can find all the resources that we are coming up with, that where we need help in.
Very good. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Chairman, may I ask,
Please.
Dr. DuBose, would that link include the RUDAT study, the Ward 1 initiatives, and those older reports?
That is not up yet, but I will have that added to the website. As we're gaining information, we will start adding links, but those are good resources to have. So we'll talk with the communications department and try to get those up on as a part of links as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, early on, we looked at some of those initiatives as what we called low-hanging fruit. And before the pandemic, we were talking about establishing a physical place, a room or a corner of a room where these resources could be found. I thought that the Walker report was up on the town's website somewhere.
It is.
We just need to make sure we know how to navigate it and that they're easy to find. If you can help us direct us to how we can access that and get, like as you said, to share that with the task force and the public. That would be great. Okay, Mr. Simmons.
Mr. Chairman, I do not have any comments at the moment. I looked at this information and thought it did cover most of the basis for what we had asked or proposed otherwise that they worked and put together. So and definitely I concur with Mr. Malik's comments about the previous studies and that the economic base that we once were able to appreciate here is changed. And definitely, as you mentioned, the home occupation has really been a difficult, it has been made difficult here, with the rules and regulations that the LMO now presents. So those couple of things are just the things that just stick out above and beyond what is in the written information. And I understand that they have put some of those in a category to still be addressed. So just those quick comments, but obviously there's a lot more that has to be delved into, but I think we definitely have the basis for moving forward.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Mr. Campbell.
I don't have any questions at this point, but I definitely agree with Mr. Malik by adding the RUDA study to this and to the website.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. I do want to pause and also welcome Councilman Ames. I see that he has also joined the meeting. We certainly appreciate our members of Town Council being here. My comments are pretty much more of the same. And again, it's about making materials and resources available to the public and finding better ways to get that information out into the community. I think the challenge all of us have is understanding that, yes, some of these things may be on the town's website, but we would certainly like to get them out into the community, maybe through some other resources. And as Dr. DuBose said, that maybe she can have a conversation with the communications director and find some ways to get it out into the community. Within our culture, we don't always go to the town's website. We tend to get our information through other resources, culturally speaking, whether that be in our churches or other organizations or as we've often said, some of those shade tree conversations and people who may not choose to go to the town's website or be so adept with the technology. So I do encourage you to continue to find more creative ways to get the information out. And we know that yes, the business part of it, the economic sustainability, is a very important piece of cultural preservation. So folks are able to sustain themselves. I will say that I also am pleased to see the educational syllabuses that have been put together with the programs. And these are good places to start. And as you mentioned, that we would hopefully be able to add some of the topics as we see fit, or to some of them, as we mentioned, can be included under what's already in the syllabus. We also want to make sure that as we do these workshops and these educational pieces, again, the same comment is being able to move around into the community, where we can go to the community where folks may not be so willing to come to the town or other places. In my conversations with, even with Tom Hintz, he's offered us, of course, USCB is a place that we could always invite people and encourage them. And that is all well and good, but I do still think that we should be able to go out into the community and kind of circulate around. The Rowing and Sailing Center has been a good place, but we also want to think about maybe some other places as well. I know that when we do the heirs property seminar, a lot of times we've done it like at St. James Church or other places like that. So those are the kinds of things I'd like to see us to continue to do to get into the community. I do see that Ms. White has joined us. And I do appreciate you making a way to be here. I know your Monday mornings are challenged, so welcome. We are discussing the educational syllabuses and community outreach programs that was sent out. I hope you've had a chance to look those over. And at this time, I want to allow Ms. White to have some questions or comments. Welcome. You're still muted.
I really don't have any questions or comments at this point. I think they've done a good job of identifying the issues that need to be discussed with the community and to become a part of the local school curriculum.
Okay. All right, thank you. Some of the other things that I had mentioned, Dr. DeBose, was in relation to metrics and keeping up with, seeing just how well we're doing with a lot of these efforts. This is a really good documents that we put together. I'm very curious to see how we're doing with what we're trying to do to reach out to the community. And I encourage us to try to keep finding that data to see just how many properties, as we know it, are still in the Gullah culture with Native Islanders, and if we're losing more or if we're gaining more, and how people are doing. And perhaps you can share with us, again, I know you did in previous meetings, about how many families are actually coming to your office, how many people you're seeing, and also the status of the program there at the Heritage Library, the Heritage Library Genealogy Clinic. I did see Linda Picard out there Saturday at the festival, and she had some flyers and things that she shared with me. So we definitely want to try to find a way to circulate that in the community so we can have these seminars and educational programs be successful by having some really good attendance. Okay, did I miss anyone here? All right, I want to move on to the next item. Well, before I do that, Teresa, do we have a quorum now? Can we go back and do the approval of the agenda and the minutes?
Yes, sir, we have a quorum, and that'd be great if we could go back and do those approvals.
Okay. We do have an agenda that was sent out and we are following today. So at this time, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda that has been presented.
I will make that motion that we accept the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Malik. Is
And
there a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Is there any discussion? Okay. Teresa, would you please call the roll?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Ms. White,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons,
Yes for the motion.
Mr. Abdul Malik,
I support.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Stevens.
Approved.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Members, you also have been sent out the minutes from the meeting for September the 7th. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion to approve those minutes unless there are some comments or concerns.
Is it September 7th? Not sure. I have
That's what I'm looking at here.
Mr. Chairman, this is Teresa.
Yes, ma'am.
We do have in the packet the meeting minutes from the October 4th meeting.
Okay. Do we need to approve those minutes from September?
Sir, we do have those minutes approved.
Okay, I must be looking at the old, I see the old. So what we're approving now is the minutes from the October meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me scroll down here a little more. I'm sorry. All right, you should have had those minutes in your packet as well. I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes from the October meeting.
so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Thank you, Mr. Malik. I have a motion and a second. If we have any questions at this time, if not, then Teresa, would you please call the roll to approve those minutes?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Ms. White,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons,
For the motion, yes.
Mr. Abdul Malik,
I support.
Mr. Campbell,
Supported.
Mr. Stevens.
Approved.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. All right. Get back to my agenda. All right, the next item I have for discussion is on the 2022 meeting schedule. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to look at that. I'm not sure where we are with our meeting schedule. I know we've had some discussions about concerns about the time. But I think the biggest question for all of us is if we're still meeting virtually or if we're meeting in person. So I'm not sure that we're ready to take this particular item on, but I would certainly entertain some questions or discussions at this time. Mr. Malik, do you have comments about the schedule?
No, it seems to work okay for me. The Mondays is the one day of the week that I have you know, a lot of flexibility. So to change it from 9 to 1 doesn't create any conflicts for myself. So I'm okay.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Simmons,
9 works better for me, but if 1 is the consensus, it sort of lands more in the middle of the day for me, but 9 would be better, you know, for me personally.
yeah, actually the 9 o'clock hour works better for me too. I know that some people had a challenge with the 9 o'clock hour. Ms. White, let me go there because I know you had some challenges with your schedule.
Yeah, 9 o'clock on Mondays is not a good time for me. But if the majority is going with 1 o'clock, that'll be fine.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Campbell,
Yeah, 9 o'clock would definitely work for me because that's at the beginning of the day. But I mean, if we have to do 1 p.m., I could definitely do that also.
okay, I've heard a little bit of both and I'm kind of like everybody else. The 9 o'clock hour works better for me. I could certainly make 1 o'clock work. I'm wondering if this is something that we could table until our next meeting, or do we have to take this on today?
I believe we want to have a schedule in place for 2022. I would have to check with staff about that, about whether or not this issue can be deferred.
Mr.
Sorry, go ahead, Teresa.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, this is Teresa. So
Yes.
at this point, we do not have a next meeting scheduled. Our next meeting is on this list here. It's proposed for January 3rd. If we could get a consensus from the task force, if this January meeting time slot would work, and then we could add the remainder of the schedule for 2022 on your agenda for January. But we will need to at least put a January date in place.
Okay, thank you. So my members of the task force, the January 3rd meeting is at 1 o'clock. Is that something that we all feel good about at this point? And then maybe we can go forward from there at our January 3rd meeting?
I could make that meeting, Mr. Chairman. I mean, you know, that's not a, I mean, that would not create extreme difficulties for me.
Great.
Yeah,
Mr. Campbell?
I can make that meeting at 1 p.m.
Okay. And Mr. Malik, you already expressed that. Be
Yeah,
flexible.
I'm good. I'm good with that.
Okay. And I can be good with that as well. As far as we know, will
What
that
about
meeting?
Ms. White? You didn't ask Ms. White.
I'm sorry, I thought Ms. White had already spoke about it. Ms. White?
I'm fine with that.
Yes. Thank you. As far as we know, this meeting would still be virtual or in person?
It's virtual until further notice. I know that they're opening up some boards and commissions for an in-person meeting, but I will let you know the closer we get to scheduling that meeting, which format it will take.
Okay, so do I need to entertain a motion just for the January meeting?
Yes,
think
sir.
we-
If we could,
I thought you already had a consensus.
I do, but I'm just asking about the process of.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Teresa, go ahead, please.
if the task force would like to do a motion, that would be acceptable.
I would make the motion that we accept the meeting on January 3rd at 1 as our first meeting for 2022.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Teresa, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Simmons,
For the motion, yes. Mhm.
Ms. White, Mr. Abdul Malik,
I support.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Stevens.
I approve.
Motion carries 5-0.
Great. So we'll have that meeting in January, and on that agenda will again be the schedule for 2022 meetings.
Correct. Yes.
Great. All right, thank you. The next item I have on the agenda is staff report.
Yes, thank you. There are a few items that I'd like to share. So first of all, I would like to give a huge thank you to the Pan-African Empowerment Network and Low Country Gullah for helping property owners pay their taxes this past season. Based on the list that Beaufort County has of the Native Islanders on Hilton Head Island, for those who own property, there are no properties in redemption, going into redemption for 2022. And thank you, Ms. White, for all the property owners that you are continuing to work with. Second of all, I would like to talk briefly about the road names, the vetted street names. Give me a moment, I'm gonna share screen. So let's see, can y'all see this? Okay, can everyone see this?
Yes.
Okay. The vetted street names were shared with the task force. The following street names have been vetted and approved by Beaufort County. These are names where there are no duplicates or similar sounding names. Also, fire rescue practice pronouncing the names with dispatch. And some of them have been eliminated because they were too long. But they need to be able to fit on the street signs. But as you can see, the road names are listed, and the chart shows each area of the county where they've been vetted: Hilton Head Island, Bluffton, the county. And so, and the determination here is made by 911, is it whether or not they've been approved. So the ones that have been in green or highlighted in green are the ones that are okay and are to move forward. And I will provide a total list of those approved names to the task force. Also, Becky Nugent made sure that these approved names are on hold on Beaufort County. So whenever people are ready to use them, they will be available. Also, we can add Talbert and Carolina Gold back to the list of names because they weren't used for that long of a period of time. And please note that this is a continuous process. So if there are names that you have that need to be vetted, just go ahead and supply that information. Barbara Cantonesi from the Heritage Library is asking for Native Islanders to write their personal stories about growing up on Hilton Head Island for the Heritage Library newsletter. If you know anyone who is interested, please share that information so that it can be passed along to Barbara. Also, Barbara's asking for volunteers to work with her to do a video about growing up on Hilton Head Island for her website. And the videographer is scheduled to be in town in January. And as I learn more about this information, I'll share that as well. So last month, and I'm going to share my screen again. Can everyone see this?
No.
Okay, so last month, Fire Rescue hosted an event called the Fire in the Streets on November 20th in the neighborhoods along Washington Road. This is a program where fire rescue personnel visited the neighborhoods to check smoke alarm batteries, install new smoke alarms, and install visibility address numbers. which is particularly helpful for people who have had to change their address recently. So this event occurs 4 times a year, and staff, fire rescue staff was not able to attend this meeting, but they asked that I share these photos. Hope that. So I hope everyone can see this, but basically these are photos of the fire rescue team going out and installing smoke alarms. These are the high visibility address signs. You see, they're installing them for you. And there's our helpful staff. But they are asking, so they are planning to do another event in January, and the task force has been invited to attend, to go out and share information and just be involved in the process. There are plans to give sufficient notice and information to the affected homeowners over the next few weeks, and those plans will be shared with the task force as we get closer to the event. Finally, there will be a stakeholder meeting for the Mid-Island Track Initiative that will include discussions from MKSK consultants about the park redevelopment, specifically for the Native Island community, for them to attend. So this event will be held on January 11th, and we're still determining the venue, but please save that date. And as we get that information, I'm asking your help in sharing that. And that's all I have for staff reports.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. DeBose. Do you have any questions for Dr. DeBose?
I have a comment.
I'm sorry, Ms. White?
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just amazed that the town continues with this, keeps telling people that no Gullah properties went to sale at the tax sale in October because 2 of them went to the tax sale. I told them that. I told the reporter that. I told everybody on the task force knows that, but they want to continue this mythology. I understand, because you're trying to push the new nonprofit called Low Country Gullah Foundation that was founded by Luana Graves Sellers, or Luana Sellers Graves, whatever her name is. But the fact is, Pan African Family Empowerment and Land Preservation Network had enough money to pay every person's taxes on Hilton Head Island, but we left some for her to pay. She missed 2 because she did not do due diligence and checking a list of properties that were posted in the newspaper. The list that the treasurer gives you is not the complete list, because the treasurer will miss some from time to time, and they are advertised in the newspaper. And if you don't go through that list yourself and isolate all the ones that start with the number 5, which is the number for Hilton Head Island, you will miss some. So y'all want to do that, that's fine, but it's not true. And I just don't feel comfortable spreading that lie to make somebody look good. We spent almost $25,000 paying property taxes. She raised about $7,000, and if she spent every dime she had paying property taxes, which she didn't because she set up a nonprofit organization, I mean, she didn't really make that much of an impact. We just let her have some properties to redeem, but that's fine. We are going to, the Pan African Family Empowerment Land Preservation Network Board of Directors voted to discontinue providing financial assistance to Gullah families on Hilton Head Island in favor of letting the Low Country Gullah Foundation handle all the property taxes to prevent any further conflict. So there you have it.
Ms. Teresa Wright. Ms. Wright?
I'm listening.
Yes, this is Ibrahim. I wanted to ask, would the Pan African Land Preservation Foundation be willing to partner with information over the next several years until this new foundation is thoroughly up to speed on what it needs to do? Just information and support.
I think she already has enough information to do what she needs to do. So we're just gonna let her handle it.
Okay,
She has the backing of Alex Brown on the town council. She has the backing of Emery Campbell. And for years, they've wanted a dedicated nonprofit to raise money to pay property taxes on Hilton Head Island. And that is something that we cannot give them, although we have spent almost $100,000 on Hilton Head Island paying property taxes and redeeming property since 2017. We help people in 8 of the 9 counties of the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor in South Carolina, and we've been able to spend enough money to save property assessed at over $15 million, almost $17 million as we speak. And we are beginning our process of helping people in the Geechee communities of Georgia, starting with Sapelo Island, who's about to receive over $20,000 in taxpayer assistance tomorrow. So we're just gonna let that your community do what you want to do, because you will be happy with it. And if we get any money earmarked for Hilton Head Island from our donors, which will be called donor advised funds, we will spend that money to assist property owners on Hilton Head Island. But Hilton Head Island is no longer going to be our priority for raising funds or paying property taxes. There are too many underserved communities. You got Penn Center and the Low Country Gullah Foundation and 2 more organizations in Beaufort County besides the Pan African Family and Pioneer Land Preservation Network, who's supposed to be raising money to help people with their property taxes. So we just gonna with that many organizations, we'll be stepping all over each other. But if you want to coalesce around Penn Center, which has the meeting space to be able to accommodate that many organizations working together, I think that would be an awesome idea.
yeah, Mr. Reese, that's pretty much what I'm saying, because I know that the monetary resource is one thing, but the most important ingredient in the whole process to me is the information, having the right information. Because if you get the money, but you don't have the right information, then like you say, you have to redeem properties that were missed because somebody didn't know where to go.
Yeah,
That's all I'm
okay,
saying.
yeah, okay, all right, thank you, Ms. White. We've certainly, I'm sorry.
Alex Brown, so he will give it to you. He works very closely with Lon on a number of issues, and they seem to be very close personal friends. So I'm sure she'll get their information.
Yeah, let me jump in here for just a second. Ms. White, we certainly appreciate your experience and your expertise and knowledge for a lot of years in doing this. And I think all of us are trying to do things to work together. And sometimes, as you said, we may be stepping all over each other, and certainly there's lots of opportunities out there for misinformation or something that might get missed. But I think all of our intentions are the same. So I hope that we're not having any personal attacks, because I'm also involved with the organization here on Hilton Head and the efforts that we've been able to do to help people save their property and keep them off of the tax list. The bottom line is that we're trying to do what we can so people can save their property, and therefore is the other way that we preserve the culture. So your expertise and your experience is very valuable. But yes, there are others out there, as Mr. Malik said, that there's a way that we can continue to do a better job with coordinating our efforts. I think that the end result is what we're all after, regardless of who does it and who gets the credit or who doesn't get the credit. And sometimes we don't get it right, so we depend on each other to help share that information. Okay, I'm sorry, I want to move on. Does anyone else have any questions for Dr. DeBose and her staff report?
I have one question. Dr. DeBose, based on that list for the names, of the 40-some names that we submitted, only 8 of the names were approved.
Let's see. It looks like more than 8.
Or maybe I didn't see the whole list. But the only ones that didn't have any objection were the ones that had the okay in that final column, yes?
That's correct. And I will send out a final list, a tally of what we have approved so far, but it looks like over 10 names as I'm glancing through the list right now, but I'll send out a final list of names that have been approved by the county. It's also included in your packet, but I can share the screen again too. And so you can see that it's a couple of pages. So.
Yeah, I guess we didn't see the bottom end of it. I didn't see the bottom end of it. Okay, all right. I didn't see the bottom end of it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. The other thought that I have is whether or not we, and I say we, if there can be a coordinated calendar of events that can be generated for cultural activity. I know we had a celebration over the weekend that, quite honestly, I didn't. The only reason I knew about it is because someone called me and said they needed to borrow something that I had for that celebration. So I think it would be good if we could coordinate between, different elements in the community so that when we have events, we can make sure that they get optimum support because we don't have one event competing against another.
Those are good suggestions, and we'll do better to coordinate with all the other organizations to try to work together to get it all in one place where people can view and see what's going on.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Try to schedule things, and the town tries to do it where it's not conflicting, but you never know what other organizations.
I understand. I understand. I understand.
If you can help me by just sending me some information, hey, this is going on this week, then we can work to get that for you.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, and I will say that I think that the Office of Cultural Affairs, Jen McEwen, does some of that, putting out schedule of events of things that are coming up. The event that took place on Saturday was an event that was rescheduled from November because of the inclement weather. Besides us trying to gather and get that information out, I think that those individual organizations also have to do a better job of advertising and marketing. Okay, does anyone else have any questions for Dr. DeBose? Okay, again, the heirs property seminar is in February?
Yes.
15th?
Yes, 2 dates. One is in February 15th. That's the one at Queen Chapel AME Church. And the other one is on the 19th, which will be at the Coastal Discovery Museum.
And I just wanted to reiterate those because the Gullah Geechee Cultural Land and Preservation Task Force is listed as one of the sponsors, or so make sure that our task force knows that these things are going on and that we are the ones who are helping to put on this. And if you can attend, that would be great, but any other kind of logistical support that we need would be great also. So just trying to make sure that we all are aware, as we've been saying, of what's going on in our community and certainly the things that we need to know that we're involved in. My last questions again are, Dr. DeBose, if you could make a report on how we're doing with the family research project down there at USCB, and also what you know about families that are coming to you for the family compound and family subdivision, and how those things are going.
Yes, we have a couple of families. One has been completed with the research project, and that is presently, their family tree is presently being presented to the Center for Area Property Preservation. And we're working with another family, and right now we're getting a bunch of inquiries, not enough to be able to pass along, but just enough where people know about the project and are asking questions about it. And so with hopefully the education that we're providing, we're trying to get the word out that these resources are available. In terms of family compound and family subdivision, I will say about 5 to 10 people are doing applications for those. And I say that because a lot of it is inquiry, but there are some that we're actively working with to move forward.
And these are folks that are coming in to use the new studio that we set up.
That's correct. And not just for that, but for just property development as well. So we pull in the resources as they're asking questions.
And that first initial step is to contact you, and then you get them to where they need to be with the resources of the town.
That's correct. Depending on what the applicant is asking for, we arrange an in-person meeting or meeting by Zoom if we are able to do that. And we pull in the appropriate staff people, whether that be current planning, whether that be rescue. We pull in the appropriate people that they need to work with to move those projects forward.
I'm asking for a very particular reason, because I've had someone in the community who is in the Native Island communities ask me specifically about a piece of property. So I want to personally help them and help them walk through that. And I also want to be involved in that because I want to understand how that process works better myself, so that when people in the community ask us as task force members what this is and how it works, that we can certainly point them in the right direction and have some knowledge of how those programs work.
Sure thing.
All right, any other questions for Dr. DeBose?
Yes, I have one, sir.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to just ask, with regards to the overlay, when can we expect an updated report on the progress of the overlay?
Right now, staff is waiting on a code writer to draft the amendments for the overlay district. So right now, that's not moving. We probably won't see movement until after the new year. And as I get more information, I can get that to you.
Okay, so.
I'm sorry. You said staff is waiting for.
Where staff is using a code writer, someone to write the amendments and have them vetted and move forward towards council soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would I be overstepping by asking if 3 months into the year we could expect something?
I wish I could give you specifics. The best I can do is, as I get information, you get information based on that.
Okay. And then I guess the other question that I have is, this is regarding public comments. When we get public comments, I know that folks did comment in the last portal. How are those comments addressed? I mean, what do we do with them, the comments when they come through?
When the comments come through, we print them out and we send them to you to have you review them. If it's something that you want to address, certainly give me a call and direct us how we should proceed in that.
Okay, but if you don't get a comment or if you don't get any response from us, then that comment just rides and just goes away? It's just there? It's not addressed, it's not dealt with?
It depends on what the comment is. I'm sure that if it's something that we can correct or fix, we'll work towards that. But in terms of something that's just a comment, then there's not really a whole lot we can do with that, but just know that's what people are thinking. But if there's something that you want us to address in particular, I'm happy to discuss that with you at a different time.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you.
Okay, other questions for Dr. DeBose? Again, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be in this meeting. I will say to Dr. DeBose and to the staff that I'm pleased to see the syllabuses and the educational programs being put together. I feel like we have some forward momentum, and we want to continue to be engaged with staff and with our public and with our community going forward. And we'll continue to work together again to accomplish the end means of what we're trying to do in cultural preservation and helping folks to find better ways to use their property or whatever it is they choose to do with their property. And certainly in all of our efforts to save the property, use the property for economic sustainability, all of those things are still priorities to us. Dr. Bose, again, I just wanted to reiterate that some of our members have already expressed that, yeah, we want to have access to those materials. It may be the recommendations that we keep kind of fresh in front of us every time we come together. I do thank you for your good work. And I also want to thank Councilwoman Becker and Councilman Ames, and I believe Councilman Brown was also a part of this meeting. I think the last question that I do have, though, is in reference to our membership. We did have a member to resign from the task force. And as we talk with other members who are expressing an interest in maybe having challenges with their participation or being replaced. Can you give us any update on that, Dr. DeBose?
Yes, the Community Services and Public Safety Committee will appoint a new member to the task force. We're not expecting that to happen before January, but as soon as we know who that person is, the task force will be notified.
Okay, and I had some interaction with some people and been able to make some suggestions and recommendations myself. So we'll be waiting to hear what those recommendations are coming from the Planning Commission.
Yes, and the recommendations that you made have been forwarded and they will be considered.
But there have been no decisions made yet.
There's no decisions made yet and likely not before January.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just on the process for new members, how is that process carried forward to get new members to the task force?
I believe right now they're trying to select somebody from the Planning Commission because they like to have 3 members from the Planning Commission on the task force. The names that were suggested were forwarded to Mr. Hopkins, who's the chair of the Community Services and Public Safety Committee. And so they're the ones who will make the final determination in terms of who the new member would be.
So it's going to be someone from within the town, I guess within the town system at this point, someone that serves.
Yeah, someone who's currently on Planning Commission, because you will need to have 3 Planning Commission members on your committee.
Yes, Mr. Simmons, there has to be 3 planning commissioners. I think that we can certainly make recommendations for other members out of the community. But the process that I think that we're talking about is replacing one of the commissioners plan commissioners that resigned.
Okay.
As the chairman, I want to look at all of the membership and make sure everybody is still engaged, whether it's challenges with their schedules or whatever it is, to make sure that we're all still willing to serve and willing to participate.
I happen to agree, Mr. Chairman. It appears that, it's a challenge, to meet a quorum for still a very needed work that we have to do. So I agree that it's important that we, maintain a handle on members who are willing to and wanting to serve. I mean, most of the members who are here now have come a long way and have been involved. So we need to keep as active as we possibly can, recognizing that there's still plenty work to be done.
Absolutely, and I think we're in a good place. We're getting some good forward momentum. We're getting some great staff support. So we're getting ready to put some meat on the bones. So those things that we have, as you say, those of us who've been here since the beginning of this task force, this is not the time to get weary or assume that everything is going to just go along fine. Actually, I'm excited about some of the programs and things we have in place now, so we should be even more engaged. And I just encourage my members to be a little more excited. And again, we'll just have to kind of do a person by person kind of assessment of those of us who are still willing to and able to continue. I understand that we are volunteers and everybody has different dynamics in their lives, and maybe finding it hard with the schedule challenges and things like that. So if there are no other questions or comments.
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say that I wasn't trying to make a personal attack on anybody. My issue is with continuing to present incorrect information when you know it's incorrect, and presenting it as a body of the town of Hilton et al. In government is wrong. That's my issue. We're not looking for credit because we want to give whoever is raising the money to pay property taxes.
Oh, I think you got frozen. I believe Ms. White must be traveling. If you can still hear me, again, we appreciate all that you've done and your work and your expertise, and certainly will be valuable going forward. Okay. If there are no other questions or comments at this time, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. Again, I appreciate
Second.
it. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and your attention. And we do find ourselves adjourned at this time. Have a great